Okay, so get this. We're diving headfirst into the quantum realm today.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, quantum computers cracking encryption.
Really?
It sounds like, sci-fi stuff, right?
Yeah.
But is this really happening? You sent over a bunch of articles about this, so let's take a look. Ready to break this down?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things, it sounds like it's right out of science fiction, but it's becoming more and more relevant every day.
Totally. And there's this one from PC Mag, really caught my eye, talking about how some researchers in China, they used a quantum computer to, get this, break a 50-bit RSA encryption key.
Right.
That's got to be a big deal, right? I mean, isn't RSA, everywhere?
Yeah, it's super common. It's how we keep everything safe online, like when you think about online banking.
Yeah.
Or even those embarrassing photos everyone's got floating around on social media. That's all protected by RSA encryption. Now, the article does mention a 50-bit key, which honestly, that's not that impressive. Even like an old smartphone could crack a 50-bit key pretty quickly. These days, RSA keys are way bigger, like 2048 bits or more, which makes them exponentially harder to crack.
Okay, so that makes me feel a little bit better, but this whole thing, it's still kind of strange. This D-Wave thing, they cracked a 50-bit code, which fine, whatever. But the article, it also mentions this thing called quantum annealing. Is that the same as a quantum computer?
Good question, and it's an important distinction. They both use quantum mechanics, but they're good at different things. So quantum annealing is really good at solving optimization problems. So imagine trying to find the lowest point in a really complex landscape.
Okay.
That's kind of what D-Wave does. It's more like a specialized tool, whereas these other quantum computers that everyone's talking about, the ones trying to break encryption, they're more like general purpose supercomputers.
Gotcha. So not exactly the encryption apocalypse just yet, but what are the experts saying about all of this? Are we ever going to reach a point where these souped up quantum computers can actually break the encryption we use every day?
Yeah, it's the question everyone's asking, and for good reason.
Right.
Experts, like the folks over at DigiCert and CQI, they say that to crack a modern 2048-bit RSA key, you'd need thousands of qubits. And not just any qubits, stable, error-corrected ones.
And that's not really a thing yet, or?
Not quite, no. Not at that scale.
So we don't need to panic, start, writing all our passwords down yet?
No, not yet. But it's definitely a wake-up call.
Right.
We need to be prepared. Researchers are already hard at work on what they're calling post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. It's all about making encryption future-proof, ready for whatever these quantum computers can throw at it.
So it's like this, like a tech arms race. One side builds a better sword, the other side builds a better shield. And it's already happening. Even the government is getting involved. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they're already working on standardized algorithms for this stuff.
They're taking it very seriously.
It sounds like they are. And this new Atlas article you sent, it gets into how China and the US, how they're both tackling this whole quantum challenge. And it's pretty interesting. They've got very different strategies.
Yeah, they do.
So what are we talking? One side's building the Death Star and the other one's building a deflector shield.
Well, not quite that traumatic, but you can definitely see the different approaches. China's laser focused on quantum communication, specifically something called quantum key distribution, or QKD.
Okay.
So imagine you're trying to share a secret message and someone tries to intercept it.
Right, yeah.
With QKD, the very act of listening in, it changes the key, so even if they steal it, it's useless.
Wow.
Some people are even calling it the quantum Great Wall because it's all about protecting their data.
The quantum Great Wall, I like that. Very visual.
Yeah.
So they're all about protecting their own data first. Interesting.
It seems that way, at least from what they're publicly saying. The US, on the other hand, they're playing both sides. They're working on PQC, yeah, but they're also putting resources into figuring out how to break existing encryption.
So they can understand the threat better.
Exactly, kind of a know your enemy approach.
So it's a balancing act.
Definitely.
Offense and defense. It really makes you wonder, are they just showing us the tip of the iceberg with all of this? What are they not telling us?
Yeah, it's a high-stakes game, for sure. Every move is carefully calculated.
This is a lot to process.
Yeah.
We've gone from quantum computers cracking codes to what sounds like a global quantum arms race.
It's true.
But before we go any further, and we're not even through part one yet, I gotta ask, when is this gonna affect, me? Should I be worried about my data today?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Right. A quadrillion qubit question, maybe.
I like what you did there. But yeah, seriously, what kind of timeline are we looking
Exactly.
at? So the next few years, Probably more cool prototypes, more research, but your data. You're probably fine for now.
Okay.
But 5, maybe 15 years out, we might start seeing quantum computers that could crack RSA 2048. But even then, it'll be mostly experimental, nothing, widely available.
So we've got some breathing room, but it sounds less like if and more like when, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens when we hit that 15-year mark? What does a world with quantum computers in every, coffee shop even look like?
That's where things get really wild. Imagine everything we think is secure online. Banking, personal data, even government secrets. It all becomes vulnerable.
So it's like what? Everyone just left their doors unlocked?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the really crazy part. Remember that quantum arms race we were talking about? It's not just going to be countries anymore. Companies, universities, even individuals, if they've got the know-how, they could all get in on this.
So digital espionage, but with quantum weapons.
Exactly. And the stakes are way higher. Imagine corporations fighting over algorithms, over data, fending off attacks, not just from each other, but from entire countries with quantum capabilities.
Starting to sound like a cyberpunk movie over here.
Right. But it's not all doom and gloom. These quantum computers, they could do a lot of good too, like in medicine. Imagine being able to design drugs so precise they target diseases at a molecular level.
Wow.
Think personalized medicine, but tailored to your specific DNA.
That's incredible to be able to target diseases that specifically. It would be a game changer for sure. What else could we see in this future?
Material science. We could design materials that are lighter, stronger. Imagine the possibilities for things like aerospace, renewable energy, all thanks to quantum computers.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. We're talking about life-saving drugs, completely new materials. It's like we're listing off sci-fi wishes.
And that's just the start. We could see a revolution in artificial intelligence too. AI that's more powerful than anything we can even imagine right now.
Right, which is exciting, but also kind of, intimidating.
Definitely. AI that could solve climate change, or maybe create a whole bunch of new problems we haven't even thought of yet.
It's a big shift, right? We went from worrying about these quantum computers breaking our codes to them maybe, saving the world.
It's the paradox of this technology. It has the potential for incredible good and incredible disruption.
It's definitely both, that's for sure. But it feels like there's no stopping it, right? This is happening.
It is. And I think the important thing is that we can't just bury our heads in the sand. This technology is evolving fast, and it's going to affect everyone.
Right, so it's not just about building the next big quantum computer, it's how we prepare for it.
Exactly. How do we deal with the ethics, the security risks, the potential for progress, but also disruption? These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves right now.
Because the decisions we make now will determine what that future looks like, right? This has been, wow, really eye-opening. We've talked about the good, the bad, everything in between. But there's one piece we haven't really touched on yet. What about everyone else? Who are the other big players in this whole quantum game, and what are they doing? That's something we need to unpack coming up in part 3. So we've talked about how quantum computing could change everything for better or worse.
Right.
And we focused a lot on the US and China, but it's not just them, is it? What about the rest of the world? Are they getting in on this whole quantum thing?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's paying attention. We've got the U.S. kind of hedging their bets, China focused on locking down their communications.
Right.
But then you've got the European Union. They're doing things a little differently. They're putting a ton of money into research, encouraging collaboration between countries.
So like a quantum alliance kind of thing.
Exactly. They see quantum technology as essential. So they're pooling their resources, trying to stay competitive. And then you've got countries like Canada, the UK, Japan, Australia. They're all making some really interesting progress. Maybe not on the same scale as the US or China, but they're attracting some of the best minds out there, focusing on areas where they can really excel.
It sounds like a worldwide quantum gold rush almost.
Yeah, kind of, right? But it's bigger than just bragging rights. There's a lot of money at stake here, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're talking about the potential to create whole new industries, right?
Absolutely. Quantum computing could completely change how we do business, which means whoever figures it out first, they're going to have a lot of power.
It feels like we're seeing the start of something huge, like back when the internet was brand new. But with all this focus on countries and corporations, I gotta ask, where does that leave, the average person? What can we even do to prepare for a quantum future?
It's a good question and an important one. Look, We don't all need to become quantum physicists overnight,
Right.
but we do need to be informed. It's not just about understanding the technology, it's about being part of the conversation. What are the ethical implications? What are the risks? What kind of future do we want with this technology? These are things we all need to be thinking about.
So being informed, engaged, a little cautious maybe, but also excited about the possibilities.
Exactly. The more we know, the better equipped we'll be to deal with whatever comes next.
Well said. This has been a wild ride, that's for sure. Quantum computers, cracking codes, a global quantum race, the potential for incredible advancements, a lot to take in.
It is.
But here's something to think about. Imagine you could fast forward 20 years. Quantum computing has changed the world. What are you most curious to see? That's something to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another look at the future. Until then, stay curious.